Small banger gaming mice, custom water-cooled PC builds, unsolicited dick pics. Only 3 times I ever wish my hands were smaller. G-Wolf's Hati HT-S Wireless. I'd say you already know what it is, but it's G-Wolf, so we never really know what it is until we get the final. This is a pre-release copy, so we're gonna review it as such, with a big old grain of salt. You ready? Let's go! Yeah, she did too, man. Super thick. Hey, man, let me hit you back in just a minute. I gotta get this mouse review out. Later. I have to believe that somebody at G-Wolves knew it was a bad idea to ship these out like this. So we've got the Hati HT-S Wireless. This is a pre-release. I have heard a couple different things about whether this Stardust colorway will be limited to the pre-release samples. The pre-order price for this guy is a bold $109 USD. There's been a lot of well-deserved negative feedback about this antenna here too, so this may be in development for a bit longer than we'd initially anticipated. As best as I can tell, this is a one-for-one copy of the wired Hati HT-S that we looked at a few months back. So the dimensions here are 112 millimeters long, 60.5 millimeters wide at the front flare, 61 at the rear, about 55 at the grid, but it's still pretty tall for its size at 39.5 millimeters high. I'm gonna recycle some footage here from that Hati HT-S review so you get a feel for how it stacks up versus some of the other small frames. I grip this in like a relaxed fingertip, almost claw, and while I do find the wireless to be really responsive, it's just a little too small for me. My hand measures 20.5 by 10.5 centimeters, and I find myself thinking about how I'm holding this mouse a little too often in game, normally when I have to go for a side button. You can see what I mean when we're looking at the height of the side buttons versus my main as of late, a Piranha Mods mouse based on the Razer Viper frame. Those buttons sit right under my thumb, right where I need them. The Hati buttons sit right over my thumb. So medium to large hand guys, this might not be for you unless you're comfortable not using your side buttons and being completely in a fingertip. Small to medium hand guys, this is a banger shape for sure. The weight on this thing is like right at 59, 60 grams on my scale. That puts it neck and neck weight-wise with the super light, though obviously quite a bit smaller. I do love me a lightweight mouse though, and I had a lot of fun testing this thing. Inside the box, you get the now standard G-Wolves makeup brush, which is not branded this time around. You also get a full set of skins, nice ones too, like really thick, really grippy. Even the graphics complement the frame, like really, really decent, especially for a stock inclusion. You also get a replacement set of glides for both the front corners and the rear glide. This version's got like a big glide around the sensor. Based on some measurements, it does make contact with the pad, but there is not an extra one in the box. You also get a charging cable here. It's not the most flexible cable we've seen from G-Wolves, who normally does really well in that department. This is presumably due to the fact that it will handle play and charge duties as opposed to just data. It's been controversial too because this area close to the body side, about 3 inches worth here, has a flexible, like bendy, posable section in an effort to avoid drag on your mouse pad. Personally, I find this aspect of this cable to be pretty innovative, but I think G-Wolves has got some work to do to get the overall flexibility of this cable back closer to what we're used to seeing from G-Wolves. That said, you're buying a wireless mouse, so I really don't feel like the cable is anything to get too hung up on. This mouse arrived with a 90% charge out of the box, and after like 4 days of hammering this thing in game, probably 15 hours or so of actual gameplay, we're still looking at like 60% charge. Oddly, the sensor here is not the low power 3370 that we've seen a lot of lately, but a 3335 that G-Wolf says they've heavily customized using their own MCU. I'm not going to pretend to know why they went with that sensor. I'll only say that it performs on par with any other wireless sensor that I've used as of late, and the battery usage speaks for itself, so I'm good with it. If you forego the skins, you do have holes all over this mouse. The coating here is a nice matte. The clicks on this, I really like. They've gone with the KLGM 8.0s in here. Good move, they feel great. The triggers on my copy feel great as well. A very noticeable improvement over the wired Hati HT-S sample I received, which I'll show you in just a sec. Side buttons feel about the same as the last copy as well. Heavy tension, front button feels great, rear is still pretty mushy. The scroll wheel on this copy feels incredibly solid. There's like no side play here at all. The D-press is pretty firm. I would like to see it closer in tension to the one we saw recently on the XM1R from Endgame. And I don't think I've ever really stopped to talk about a DPI button in a mouse review before, but this one both sounds and feels a little sus. Like you can feel when it's floating in there versus when it's making contact with the frame or with the switch. It is G-Wolves though, so you are kind of playing the consistency lottery when you buy in. There is some software available as well, very basic, but good to see anyway. There's DPI adjustment, RGB customization for the logo, and polling rate adjustment. You can actually adjust the lift-off distance on this mouse, but it's handled exclusively on the hardware. It's just a toggle between 1 and 2 millimeters. So it performs well, it's got a decent shape, mostly solid build quality, generous extras. But let's talk logistics though, because this right here is pretty clumsy. This makes the day-to-day usability of this mouse pretty weird. Wireless mice have been on a desktop extender setup with access to your charging cable right there for years now. This feels like a step back. If the ease of use of the Razer charging dock represents the best in class, this is the polar opposite end of that spectrum. You not only need to keep your cable close by, but you also need to keep this 90s Zach Morris radio receiver close by as well. All right, I'm done roasting them about it. We know it's a problem. They know it's a problem. I got my little jokes off. We'll see what they come up with in the final. Copy that. Over and out. So this pre-order price of $109 US is, in my opinion, a little overconfident. It's a capable mouse, but there's already products in the market that are doing wireless better at a cheaper price point. But in fairness, that's assuming you have a medium to large size hand and not a small to medium size hand. We haven't seen any wireless minis in the market yet. Clunky wireless implementation aside, little detail stuff like having an exposed PCB in green versus black looks a little rough, and it does have some frame creak stuff going on. I don't want the tone of this review to come off overly negative because I had a lot of fun with this mouse. There's a ton of potential here, but in its current state, it just doesn't feel like $109 plus shipping to me. It's a really solid shape depending on your hand size. The clicks feel great, the wireless performance is solid, the weight is impressive, and they have made incremental steps forward to the build quality. But unless you're a small to medium hand size player who's just been feeling really left out of the wireless party lately, my best advice would be to forego the pre-order and wait and see how everything shakes out in the final. I will put the pre-sale link for X-Ray Pad down in the description so you can check it out for yourself. As always, any questions, hit me in the comments. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up.